descriptions of who we were. So I was the observer.
My name is Caitlin, and I was the marathoner.
My name is Louise, and I was the physician.
Scott, and I was the leader.
Jesse, and I was the photographer.
Hi, Adam.
Oh,
I'm Brian. I was the environmental. Here, you'll get a laugh out of
Is
that.
your song?
Well, I got the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Conversation.
Okay, so let's start off by talking about what we think went really well, because everyone except our Italian made it to the summit. So what do you think went well with the whole simulation?
I think we worked well as a group together, and problem solved and evaluated each decision at each camp, and made the best decision for each individual, but also towards the group goal.
I think communication all together.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like there wasn't any awkwardness. It was like, hey, like you can't take a picture at this one because we can't afford to stop we can't afford 3 days of time. So we had to pick. It was open communication.
And then we tried to stay together as a group too, which was helpful.
Yeah, especially for me as the leader, it was the best was just getting exactly what information we had from each of you so that we could organize it, because it's very easy to lose information in stressful situations.
And I think we weren't afraid to speak up and say this is what my goal is in my role, and how can I achieve this, but also help the group.
And also in the opposite with these are my risks, and this is what I potentially harm the group's goal as.
Yeah,
With
exactly.
the frostbite too, how someone was like, you were seriously
Severe.
severe. So it was like, hey, you need the blanket, and you needed
the inhaler.
you were like, I could use the inhaler, but I don't need it.
Yeah.
So pick which one was more.
Exactly.
Severe. Which one would have killed them first?
Yes.
He killed them.
Sorry.
And I think overall,
Yeah, it was.
the end result was really well because we did get 80% of the team goals. So 85.
You can't get 100, so I'm wondering what is
physically
the highest.
can't get 100%. So yeah.
So individually, and
Well,
then
what
I'll
did you think as a group we did the best as the observer?
Yeah.
As a group, I think everyone did really well. I was a little worried because I didn't know what was going to happen, because when you were reading over all your descriptions and what you had to look out for and your goals in mind, I didn't really know if it was going to be like it was in the video where it showed that some people got rescued, some people made it to the top, some people didn't. You said the example of the blind man, how everybody used that story to get everybody up to the top, and I kind of thought that looking back on it, we kind of used that story because the goal was to help everyone, or as many people as we could, reach the top as a team instead of going after everyone's interest. But what was kind of cool was watching the interaction of talking about, oh, so what is your goal? What are you looking for? And then how does this affect the group as a whole? And then making decisions and considering, okay, so I know this might help me, or maybe this will hurt me. How do we compromise? How do we work as a team? Which was really nice. Also, too, the discussion was good because no one was trying to talk over each other. No one was trying to gain power, no matter what the role was, which was really helpful. So I really enjoyed the time. One thing you can, sorry.
We worked really well at the oxygen situation too. Just
Yeah.
putting, not ourselves over like that, but we worked as a group to figure out who needed what.
And that was another time when we used the different pieces of information, because
Yeah.
he said his one said that the average was 2.5 and yours didn't say anything, but actually Abby, you needed 3.5,
Yeah.
so we had to have his information in order to figure out what yours was, and vice versa for everyone
Yeah,
else.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think piecing that puzzle together too, we all talked about what information we had, and then we were able to figure out the math.
Was it tough at sometimes though? So were there difficult parts during the simulation where you weren't exactly sure what to do, or did you feel like there was any conflict? I didn't notice anything because usually the discussion was talked out. And if any concerns that people had, or they were nervous or afraid, or even talking about, one I noticed was obviously blood pressure. Another one was the oxygen tanks, and especially the oxygen tanks. That one took a little bit more time because what I thought was interesting was it wasn't that everybody was trying to say, oh, I'll get one, you get one, oh, I want two, whatever. It was actually very well calculated of trying to see how much do we need, but how much do we have?
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting that we took your asthma into account, which was interesting, and I liked how even though in your description it says that you might be the most fit, I liked how taking into consideration your medical needs before everyone else's. That was neat. But what did you guys think though? Was there anything challenging? Was there anything frustrating?
I could
Anything
see
you
how
want
it
to change?
could have been frustrating, if there wasn't open communication, because like right off the get-go, I was a pain in one's side, and like, you're like
Your character,
my
not
character,
you.
not mine. Well, literally, but like, because there were times where it's like, oh, like let's progress, and it's like I don't know, like if I can, like I need to like speak up and say I need this, like the medical thing. It's like I think we should address this if we're not going to do anything this round. But if I didn't say that, it could have affected the rest of the trip.
Well, yeah, and I think kind of going off like the no asshole rule, what was difficult for me was like my goal was the photographer. I wanted to take photos at Camp 1 and 2, and I wanted to say Camp 1 and 2 days, but like it was kind of like risking that, like should I be an asshole and be like so long and worry about myself on the mountain and achieving my goals, or if we should like work together as a group and then compromise and stay back one of the days instead of both, and like letting us stay together.
And that was kind of the hardest part for me, was trying to figure out like the priorities, like keeping everyone alive, and then no evacs, and then group goals over personal goals, and then with all those priorities, using the very limited information we had.
Yeah.
Like in the case of the pressure gauge, when you might be developing hate, but we didn't know, so we used it because you need to be precautionary at that point. And like, being able to figure that out, even though when you have asthma, it was just very limited information, but a lot going on, and that was the hardest part, to like keep it organized, and we did that really well, I think.
I feel like my personal goals, though, like worked with your problems. And like, as weird as that sounds, like when you got sick, I was like, oh, we should stop because I need to stop. I can't pour anymore.
Yeah, because we had to pick collectively what days to rest, because we couldn't do it in a
And
shot.
Like we only had
different
6
personals,
days.
Yeah.
different
5
people's
camps,
goals,
yeah.
so grouping,
Yeah.
We could have stopped day 1 to like rest, but you would only get your photos.
Yeah.
Or day
And-
3, I think we rested because like I needed the
you
help.
needed it, and you can
And
and
you done your research,
It
right?
was,
It was
day
camp
two.
number 2.
Camp 2, day 3, whatever.
Yeah, so it was day 2 and 3.
So that again plays into the like, using the information at hand that we had at the time. So at the beginning, obviously we didn't have any of that information. And then as we went from camp to camp, like at Camp 1, like for example, you wanted to say to take your photos, but we knew we could only stay one extra night. And nobody had any reason to need to stay in Camp 1. So we went on to Camp 2, and then it so happened that, like Brian's character, the environmentalist, actually needed to stay another night to like get healthy again.
Get that.
Get that.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite part of the situation. That could be a talent once in my life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think in general, because we were compromising, we weren't falling into too many decision traps. Like we kind of were able to like discuss it, and no one like took it personally when you were like, no, that's not the best.
Yeah, this marathon. We should keep going. We should keep going. And I'm like, my health is like really bad right now. But it's funny because like at like towards the end, like you were really bad.
Slow it down.
I
How
was
the
slowing
roles
down.
reversed.
This is the asthma, okay?
Yeah.
I'm fit.
Maybe I should have given you the other inhaler because we ended up on the
Yeah, I'm left
That was
over.
one thing we didn't even consider, is using it when we didn't have. We had 1 day left and 2 inhalers. And we ended up using 1, but we could have very easily, with 2 days left, we could have used both,
Exactly.
which could have changed out.
We were like planning like way far in advance that we were going to need it later.
Because
And
it's
we never
limited
ended up needing
information.
it.
I think that's the
Exactly.
biggest thing, is like working with how little information we have.
But that's kind of how it set it up in the beginning too. It was like you're very, very high risk for asthma.
Yeah.
So then you're like, yeah, crap, I'm gonna like really suffer at the end. So let's pull down.
I do feel like though, with all these kind of strict, like, don't forget about this, remember this, it really influenced the decision making, because I feel like if they hadn't said so strongly, like, you need to make sure that you don't, tell people or do this, or you have asthma or this, all this kind of thing. I feel like if that wasn't a factor, we may have just said, oh, it's fine, let's just use this. Oh, it's fine, let's just do this. I feel like it really helped just thinking more critically about, no, we need to take into consideration how kind of heavy the decision is and what we want to
And
do.
you could easily get caught into like the traps, like especially with the oxygen, how the trap was you pick the first information you come across, where it's like, oh, we can just do this, and but we had to be like, oh no, there actually is other ways. We need to do
And more
some math.
information.
And it was like, we were really good at climbing, so we needed much less because we'd done it
Yeah.
before.
Exactly.
Whereas even though she was very fit, she needed much.
Yeah. And I think that's something like this simulation could set up as a trap, is like if we wanted to just get it done, like in all reality, it was 5 decisions. We probably could have gotten it done and just been like click, 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 click in like 10 minutes. But the fact that we like sat down,
A little competitive.
yeah, we like sat down
Great.
and we like took the time to like talk out those conversations and like figure out what was the best decision. And I think overall we succeeded.
Also, too, I do like how in a way the simulation kind of saved you because when we used, was it you with the blood pressure? We took your blood pressure.
The simulation
And
saved
then
you from
the
me.
next day, there was another hiking group that gave
Oh,
you
they gave me an inhaler
Yeah.
when we messed up on the
Because
medical
I was supposed to
decision.
give you an inhaler.
But we didn't mess up
No. We
didn't
because
mess
based
up.
on the
No, I
information,
don't think so.
Yeah.
I think we did exactly what we were supposed to.
Yeah.
Because there was no reason for
We
us to
lost
give you
a
an
point
inhaler.
over it.
Well, and the information specifically said like if you're showing additional signs
Yeah.
with blood pressure,
So
and we're like
blood
we don't
pressure
know.
was
Yeah.
an additional
That's
sign.
what it was. Yeah.
And your information was additional signs. It just said for me, any additional signs. And your additional signs were like
This
throw up, this,
Yeah.
this, this. And I'm like, I don't
blood
have
pressure, increasing
Exactly.
blood rate, whatever.
So-
And mine didn't have anything about that. It was like you're not experiencing it, but this is what it is. Like be aware, you know. So.
And that's just in personal experience, like being a leader, there's gonna be people that know stuff you don't. And like the biggest thing is not taking that lead role, because that's where you like fall into the most traps. And
Yeah.
by other people giving you, it like creates a sense of community. And it's much harder to lead like finite, like this is
Yeah.
decisions, and
Yeah.
it's actually way easier to lead with a whole group conversation.
And I think you did very well facilitating that.
Okay, so another point that I wanted to make was about 5 dysfunctions of the team, because I thought that was really important for the class. I didn't think that we had dysfunction as a team. One big thing was because trust in our history. I think that was a big thing. I was thinking of how, even in some of the case readings that we were reading, how what was it? The girl came and she was kind of shunned from the group and the team because they all knew each other. It was kind of that initiation process, trying to get her in, and she had to pull her own chair and all that kind of thing. I feel like with us, even though I know that Adam said at the group, over time we were able to develop more of like this peer camaraderie, but also a friendship that helped us because that's how we were able to trust each other. We can talk, relax, we don't have to worry about like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get this done, oh, I don't know if I'm going to do this, because everybody just says, hey, I'm going to do this part, okay, and then something happens, if we're late or we don't understand something, we all work as a team, like even in
I
lecture too.
Exactly, and I think what helped with that is just like how we established our group from the get-go. Like we were like, we had the group text message. We were like, we're gonna communicate with
Rules.
everyone.
We like set our ground rules were like set from like the get go.
And I think the biggest difference between this and like a lot of the stuff we read is like we weren't actually fearing for our lives.
Yeah.
Or like we weren't actually like, no, I'm serious, like you get out there and the game changes. Like
Yeah.
so unbelievable. You think you have the
Stakes
best
are
group and then you have one problem and the entire group blows up. And like that's one thing that like I guess didn't really touch on, that even when we were stressed out with the decisions, we did really well. I think that's one difference between a lot
Because
of
it wasn't our life.
Yeah.
And I
decisions.
think
Just,
we also
It would've changed a lot.
established,
If we're actually on Mount Everest,
Yeah,
like I think like we would have done very well. But like this, when the stakes are a little bit higher, it would influence group
It
interaction.
really
a little.
would have been you holding the rest of us.
I would. I
We
would.
would have left you.
we would have loved to.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
Just take my photo and just like I said, just chop off my head, just hold it
Picture
there,
of us.
like with you, and it's like yeah, make it to the top, show my parents.
I feel like because of our like flaws as characters, like our team was naturally dysfunctional, but like we did like work together really well.
And I think we set the goals, like on every single project, including this one. It was like, we want to get a good grade for this project. We wanted to win, like we wanted to get a lot of points. So we were like, okay, what's the best way to get those
It's more than
points?
just
Like,
completing the-
exactly. It was like, are we gonna focus on the group points and get those points, or are we gonna focus on the individual points and get less of the group points? And I think overall, we succeeded.
We like planned to like coordinate it as a team because I think whenever this assignment was assigned, like last week, we said, okay, like we want to get something before finals,
Yeah.
and we were all on that same page. It's like, okay, what days work well? Like you work all day Wednesday, you're done. You can't do Tuesdays at all. So it's like, okay, what day can we do this?
Yeah.
So we like planned accordingly in order to let it go smoothly, and we got the study room. Like
I think the
booked in
study
advance.
room really helped too,
It did.
because we were like at a table,
Focused.
focused, like in a room, but it wasn't like quiet at the library. Like we were still able to like be ourselves and talk and have fun. Like this project
Although the
wasn't
people
boring.
next door to our room were kind of like
No,
popping
I-
up.
I kept hitting the door though, that's why. I would lean back and hit the door, like, oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, God, you might be like really like honed in.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
think
you're hearing.
overall this project, like, because we worked so well with the group and we like established it, it went well and we had fun doing it. It wasn't like a pain like my other group projects.
No, after I finished, I literally called my mom. I was like, Mom, I just climbed Mount Everest.
Literally?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'd never do that to you.
Do you guys think, had we done this again tomorrow, would we have done anything different?
As a leader, the way we went through it, like from my perspective, every decision was based on the information we had, and we didn't fall into any traps, and we did everything as a team. There wasn't really anything that we messed up on. I couldn't go back and change a decision with the information I had.
Exactly.
As
Like,
a group, we all
totally
made the
agree.
decision.
I
Oh,
totally
good.
agree. Like,
Can you die in this?
Yeah, you can die or
Yeah,
look at me,
yeah.
guys.
You're just after it. You're on your way to
No, you can't die. She's here. Right?
Just doing much research.
Yeah, like none of us got rescued, and I think that was like one of our big goals. Is like
You got points for avoiding rescue.
exactly, like all of us got points for avoiding rescue, so we were like, we're not getting rescued. So
Yeah.
Also, what I really liked was that each day everyone was really efficient. Another point that I was going to make farther back was from the get-go, what I've noticed about our group over the semesters, that everybody is on the bandwagon, but they're very self-motivated, but group-motivated to be efficient, to get things done, but to also make them worthwhile. Because what I really liked was, considering that maybe this wasn't a life-threatening situation, but it was finals, and I feel like in its own right that's very life-threatening because it adds a lot of stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
But I do like how everyone was really, we all went to the library, made sure that we got a room, we all had the group test, to make sure that everybody was there. People checked in, everyone got there at the same
We hold
time.
each other accountable.
yeah, exactly. And I think we all kind of served like for this particular assignment, you were assigned leader, but I think in general we all were very leader-like. and,
Anyone
like,
could have led this group.
It-
Like the way anyone could have had any position, and it would have worked
So
out the
nice.
exact same.
You did a great job.
No, I'm serious though. I mean, everyone, the way we did it, everyone said exactly what they needed to say, and we made decisions as a group.
Well, I think you said it best earlier, like how you said, you know, it's actually harder to make a decision as a one leader, but when a community comes together and puts in their input to making a decision, it's much easier.
Sometimes the part of the job as a leader is to be a follower, like a lot of times, and that's what other people need to learn the most and understand the most.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is
you need a leader. You like need someone to be a leader.
to
Like,
set,
not-
like someone
yeah.
maybe to set it up and like understand how we're gonna
Or
work
have
as a
like that
team.
position.
But everyone did their own roles perfectly.
I think overall this was like a cool project, and I think we did really well, and like
Me too.
with what we were given.
It's a good experience.
We
Have
should
fun
have,
with you guys
however,
Really,
If it was done
Yeah.
on Everest,
we should have, however, though,
Yeah.
like what would have been really cool if we had more time is if we would have filmed this conversation like an episode of Community.
Future reference item.
For your summer classes, for your summer classes, there you go.
Yeah, I just thought about like right now. And I was like, damn it.
All right, good work, team.
All right.